All right, I want to wish everybody a happy New Year's. I've been away for a little bit. I've been doing a ton of reading, a lot of researching. One thing that I'm learning about this whole Iraqi dinar community is there is a lot of chatter. There are tons and tons of rumors. So it's hard to, separate facts from, rumors. And so after hearing a lot of different people talk about what they think is going on, I set out to see if there's any of this that I can prove because there were a lot of great points that were brought up. Over the past week, I've been able and fortunate enough to talk to people who have been dealing with the dinar for quite some time. People like Cornbread. I want to say thanks out to Cornbread because Cornbread's been a big help. I got a lot of information from him. We go back and forth regularly. We talk about a lot of different things. He's been in this game for a long time. He has a ton of information that he shares from time to time, so I'm grateful for that. There are other individuals I think that don't want to be named at this present moment that I've had some very lengthy conversations about. So sometimes what happens is when you're trying to separate fact from fiction, some of the news that you hear might be really discouraging, and it could be a downer. All right, but it doesn't keep me from trudging forward to see if there's anything that I can find one way or another to make me feel good about this investment. So this is just me again going through and seeing if I can find where rumors can be proven. Okay, so let's go over a couple of things that are important. One thing I learned, I think, real quickly, again, we're trying to figure out the difference between facts versus rumor. But one thing I learned real quick is there's a misunderstanding between what this means. Currency in circulation. So, currency in circulation is the amount of money that has been issued by monetary authorities. What I'm realizing is a lot of people think currency in circulation is money that is out and about in people's pockets. Okay, that's not the only currency in circulation. Doesn't just mean that it also takes in consideration the money being held by banks. So even if the bank has money or people have it in their pocket or wherever the money is moving around, that's all considered currency in circulation. So keep that in mind because it plays a big role in what we're talking about. So if a bank is holding money, that is considered in circulation. Okay. All right. So one thing we hear a lot of talk about how much dinar is actually out there in circulation. Okay, so how much of it is out there in circulation? All right, so let's go with just one of the largest numbers that I heard: $76 trillion in dinar is in circulation. That is a ton of money. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. It's a ton of money. So even if a rate change came out and they did it at 5 cents, the conversion of that 76 trillion dinar with a 5 cent rate change would still cost 3 trillion 800 billion USD if every single dollar of that 76 trillion was brought in and exchanged. Now you got to understand that the naysayers that are out there, or people who are just trying to be rational thinkers. That this is one of the things that discourage people about this investment is that there might be $76 trillion in circulation. So, and at the rate of 5 cents, that would be $3 trillion 800. So let's look into this a little more and see if we can find some silver lining here. Okay, so the reason why $76 trillion or 76 trillion dinars, that's another habit that I got pointed out by somebody. We got to separate and stop saying dinars as dollars. Okay, they're two separate things. So 76 trillion dinars, that would equal up to almost the entire world's GDP. I mean, the entire world's GDP, is at 84 trillion. Yeah, I know it says billion here. It was pointed out to me by more than one person. When I read the MO report, I was reading it wrong. Although its measurements are in billions of units, it's actually considered trillions. And I'm going to show you that this is true because this is 84 trillion, not billion, $84 trillion. And here you could take a look for yourself because connected to it, you could see each one of the GDPs are measured in the trillion. So you can understand, again, 76 trillion dinars is a lot. all right, compared to the entire world's GDP. So again, that was kind of discouraging when I heard about that. I mean, I was trying to find proof of how much money is out there in circulation. You can go to the IMO report and see that it does say 76 trillion. So having taken that in consideration, some of the things that I did read that I came across made me start thinking. So there's 76 trillion. Let's just keep using that number, 76 trillion in circulation. But here's the question I have. Whenever we go to exchange the public, whenever we go to exchange our dinars for whatever the rate is, we're going to go to our banks and we make the exchange happen. Then our bank goes ahead and settles with our central banks. And then it's our central banks that will be dealing directly with the Central Bank of Iraq, okay? So we won't, but our central banks will. So my question is it possible that a bulk of the money that's out there in circulation is just sitting in banks? And as much, what I want to know is how much is actually in the hands of the public, not banks or exchanges, because I would imagine that a bulk of the 76 trillion is not in the hands of the public, but in banks. So I wanted to see if I could prove that. So let's see if we can. Okay, so just keep this in consideration. I know that the IMF, there's plenty of reasons for me to know that the IMF is going to be the people responsible for pulling the trigger on the rate. They're the ones that's going to determine the international rate and also make sure that the Iraqi dinar is being recognized internationally. I know that I've seen plenty of information that proves that. We also know that the World Bank is the sister bank to the IMF, okay? Now, many of us know, and we've been hearing or reading a lot of articles in 2019. We know for some reason in 2019, the IMF has been spending a lot of time in Iraq. For what reason? Not a lot of people know, but I could tell you one of the reasons is they're discussing the rate of the dinar for the exchange. I know that for a fact, okay? I'll show you why in a little while. So the IMF has been spending a lot of time in Iraq. We know they're the people responsible for pulling the trigger on this and making this happen, okay? So let's go over some other things here real quick. Oh yeah, here's another thing that keeps popping up. Does the Federal Reserve hold Iraqi dinar? Believe it or not, somebody actually posted that truth out there already. It was most likely missed because it's from 2008. So does the Federal Reserve hold Iraqi dinar? The rumor is 4 trillion. Some say 5 trillion. No, actually, they hold 7.5 trillion Iraqi dinars. The U.S. Federal Reserve, a private company, did in fact exchange 7.5 trillion IQD for 5 billion US dollars. So what happened was the Central Bank of Iraq gave the Federal Reserve 7.5 trillion IQDs in exchange for 5 billion USD to accumulate 100 million per year in interest via the U.S. Treasury bills of Iraq. So look, the Treasury is even involved, okay? This very exchange allowed for the increase in valuation of the dinar in the world market. Okay, so right off the get-go, if there's 76 trillion out there, our own Federal Reserve is holding almost 10% of that. Okay, so 10% of that is in the Federal Reserve. So this is the point I'm trying to make. How much of it is being held? Here's my theory. A lot of these banks are going to be holding the dinar for one reason or another. Whether there's an agreement that they have with the Central Bank of Iraq that they'll slowly exchange over time, or there's some kind of bond that they're holding. For whatever the reason, I think a bulk of the money is going to be in the hands of the banks, and that there's not as much as people believe in the hands of the public. Okay, so can I corroborate this in any way, shape, or form? Because this is a pretty good deal, it seems like. Yeah, actually, I could. I came over here and I seen this. Where is it at? I came into this right here. This is a letter that John Taylor wrote to the Treasury talking about a visit. So here's your proof. U.S. Department of Treasury. Here's their website. Same letter I just showed you the picture of. But here's the part we want to look at. Down here, he's talking about what they talked about. One of the topics for discussion today was the newly opened income earning account that the Central Bank of Iraq established at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. The account will enable the Central Bank of Iraq to increase its earnings by about 100 million per year. Okay, so here you go. There's two pieces that corroborate one another. Okay, so let's get back to this one over here. The other thing I noticed about this was this person was saying that with the money that they had back in 2008, they could have easily bought all the inventory that was out in the public. So the amount of dinars that was in circulations could have been bought back by the Iraqi or the Central Bank of Iraq. It could have been done. So did they take any steps? Did they do anything? The Central Bank of Iraq, did they do anything to reduce the amount of dinar that's in circulation? I mean, there is reason to believe that not only did they do it, but a vast amount of the Iraqi dinar that was in circulation in the hands of the public was removed. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I showed you this letter here. So, oh wait, I wanted to say, people, I know it's been brought up because as a discussion I had with somebody, why would these institutes hold the dinar besides the interest rate that they would accumulate off of it? But also keep in mind, Iraq has the second largest oil reserves in the world. So, you know, I don't know if there's any sense of urgency, although the dinar tends to be volatile, only because Iraq's well, not entire, but 89% of their income comes from oil. So if any one event happens that for one reason or another reduces production or reduces the oil per barrel, it can drastically change the value of the currency. So they're being encouraged, Iraq is, to have other sources of income. I know their agriculture is a big part of it as well, and it's up and going. But the more veins of income they can draw from, the better off they are and the stronger their dollar becomes, okay? So anyways, here we go. So here's what I'm talking about and I've read many articles that said this, but I wanted to see if I could prove it one way or another. Anyways, here you go. The bank spends $1 billion to $1.5 billion every month in oil revenues to buy Iraqi dinar on the open market. So what are they doing? They're reducing the amount of dinar that's in circulation, okay? Are they doing that? Is this true? Is there anything that could prove that this is true? Well, yeah, there is. This is a New York Times article from 2008, and it says just that. Okay, it says, another important factor buoying Maliki has been the sharp rise in oil prices, which, among other things, has allowed the Iraq Central Bank to buy back its currency in a feverish pitch, forcing the value of the Iraqi dinar higher and limiting increasing in consumer prices. Driven by higher food, it goes on and on. But anyways, it goes right here. But the rate might be a good deal higher without the central bank's aggressive policies. The bank spends $1 billion to $1.5 billion every month in oil revenues to buy the dinars off the open market. So there, you have it right here. This is an article, and it's from, again, I'm going to point it to you. This is from the New York Times. Right here, New York Times. This is from June 21st, 2008. So there, I was able to read that and then prove that is, it's a news article that corroborates that story, okay? So that's a good thing. Let's get over here to doing this a little bit more. Now, here's something interesting that I would love for it to be proven. So in the same thing here, it's saying 70% of the IQD has been removed out of circulation. And this is in 2008. So 24 trillion out of the 28 trillion has been taken out of circulation. That would make a drastic difference whenever they go to calculate the exchange rate. So could this be true? I mean, if that's the truth, then it wouldn't seem so drastic that if there was a rate change around $1, if most of the money that was in circulation has been taken out of the hands of the public. I guess is a better way to put it. Again, I don't want to, like I was saying, in circulation means also the banks hold it, but let's just say out of the hands of the public. So the article is saying that the Central Bank of Iraq was doing all they could. They were spending $1 billion to $1.5 billion US dollars to buy back the IQD, to take it out of the hands of the public. And this went on for some time. I can tell you this, I've read articles that went on to say they spend as much as 4 to 5 billion per month to remove the IQD off the open market. I've read that. So it just depended on the amount of oil production and the price of the oil. It went up and down. So the amount that they were buying off the open market varied. Okay. So again, this is one of those things that are rumored out there, but we see there's articles saying that they did. As far as this part, I don't know if this is true or not. There's reason to believe it's possible. They had to be the ability to do it. Okay, but we also see on the IMO report that they're saying there's 76 trillion in circulation. But again, how much of it is sitting in banks versus how much is in the hands of the public? Because that makes a world of difference. Okay. So here it is. I wanted to see if there's something else that could give me an idea as far as what the rate would be. I have this report. It was huge. I spent hours, and I mean, I'm exhausted from all the reading that I was doing. I was able to download some minutes off the website for the Iraq Central Bank of Iraq in their meetings that they were having with the Ministry of Finance. From time to time, the IMF was there. From time to time, U.S. representatives were there. Most of their visits came during the year of 2019, which gives me hope. And back and forth was a discussion of what the rate might be. So I want to find again, is there anything that could corroborate what's being rumored or talked about? So here is one of these reports. It goes on back and forth to discussing what they wanted the rate to be. Okay, so the government wants the rate to be back at its 320 rate. That's before the rate was, as we all know, the rate before the invasion. Okay, and they dropped it down really low. They go back and forth making the case why, it's using where the economy is, a bunch of different histories in there. Anyways, I don't want to get too locked down in that. Here's the part that I want to talk about right here, and then we'll go into this a little bit more. Here's the part that I took off and read. The monetary authorities may resort to the installation of a new exchange to the dollar or to a basket of currencies by, in any case, is not advisable to adopt a higher exchange rate. So it does not give effect to the economy or raise the value of national sovereignty, as some believe, but have negative effects on the economy. So what they're saying is this: we can't do the $3.20 rate. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. The currency's not worth $3.20, and it'll have a negative effect instead of a positive effect. But here's the good thing. They go on to explain what is a sweet spot or where the rate should be. Okay, so they're saying it should be at $1.20 for each dinar. So $1.20 for each dinar. So instead of $3.20, they're talking about it being $1.20 rate. Now, again, if we take in consideration the 76 trillion that's out there, it seems impossible. It's like there's no way in hell that's going to happen. It doesn't make sense. Where are they getting that money from? But if you think about it this way, in these terms, if most of the money is in banks sitting there for one reason or another, they're going to do business. Some people are going to drop off, deposit dinar. Some people are going to want to use it. Large amounts of foreign reserves do sit in banks across the world, okay? They hold it for one reason or another, but I do want to point something else out that's very interesting. So, where you at? I'm going to post this link to this. Iraq issued a $1 billion bond. And here's the thing. The $1 billion comes due 2023. It goes on here. And for those of you who are interested, I encourage you to read this because there's a lot of information on how they determine the rate and what goes into it. And then there's a lot of great information in here I think you should read. I just don't want to talk about it, but I'll leave the link for this, but you can go on here and look for yourself. But in here, it does discuss a lot about how some of these institutes, or banks, I should say, do hold these for one reason or another. These are for future promises of a higher return on the money that they exchange. They're exchanging, of course, U.S. dollars in exchange for the bonds or for the Iraqi dinar to be paid back with the interest later on down the line. But I'll leave this in there. I'm just babbling on a little bit, so excuse me. I encourage you to read that. So there's plenty. What the point I'm trying to make is this: there's plenty of reason to believe that the money that's in circulation, a majority of the 76 trillion, is actually sitting for one reason or another in the hands of the banks, but not in the hands of the public. Okay, that's different. So the trick is to try to figure out how much is actually in the hands of the public versus how much is sitting in the banks. Okay, so when we get back to this rate, I was talking to you about this rate. So this article is from 2017. I mean, this article right here, it's minutes from 2017. I wanted to see, is there anything out there that can help validate this $1.20 rate? There is. There's a BTI report that I've talked about many times before. So this is the 2018 BTI report. If you go to section 8 in here, they're talking about the rate, where they believe the rate should be. Now, this is from the National Bureau of Economic Research. So these are the brainiacs of the world. The stuff that they write up is taken in consideration by each of the governments. As a matter of fact, monetary policies are written off the information that they write. Okay. So in here, what you'll see, this is from a 2018 report. You can see it's 2018 right here. It goes on to explain a little bit of the history, how Maliki at one time changed the rate to $1.19, all hell broke loose. But anyways, they go on to say right here, they believe the dinar remains widely stable and is worth $1.71 in early 2017. Okay, so $1.71. That's not too far off this report that's from 2017. This is $1.20. This is $1.71. Now, my guess is if the IMF and the CBI are telling the Iraqi government that, hey, we should probably start off at $1.20, it's because you want some flexibility there. It might be worth $1.71. Who knows? But I like the fact that I was able to find multiple things that discuss approximately the same rate. Now, something was pointed out to me about these BTI reports, and I'm going to show you the same thing. Here you can clearly see that they're saying the rate is $1.71. But if you go back to these older BTI reports, this is from 2012. Okay, I'm going to show you something that's interesting. So this 2012 report, if you go to section 8, it shows you something different here. It shows you an actual ratio is what I want to say. So sometime later they switch. So here they're saying the IQD ratio is IQD 1000. See the comma here? There's a comma, not a decimal, a comma. 1,170 IQD for $1. That was the rate for this 2012 report. Okay, so people pointed out, they're saying, hey, no, I think that's the ratio. No, in 2012, they're showing you the ratio. IQD, you could clearly see the 1 with the comma, 170 after that. But in the 2018, that's not happening. There's literally $1.71. There's no comma there. There's no ratio. You don't see the 2 dots and a dollar USD. So this is the rate. And if you take this information from the 2018 BTI report showing you $1.71, and you go over and you take a look at the minutes showing you that they're talking about a rate of $1.12. Okay, let's bring this back to what our biggest concern is. The biggest elephant in the room is how much currency. There might be $76 trillion in circulation, or I'm sorry, 76 trillion dinars in circulation, but how much is being held by banks? We know the Federal Reserve has 10% of the dinar in circulation. Okay, but how much is actually in the hands of the public? I know from many people that I have talked to, the average person that's invested in the dinar only holds about 250,000 dinar. Okay, so it's not a whole lot. So anyways, this is what I've been doing. I'm trying to separate the difference between what is rumors and what is facts. And so far, when I come across things that I'm able to corroborate back and forth with, I will point them out, just like I was doing here, in order to try to prove that either the amount of dinar that was in the hands of the public, or I should say on the open market, as this article says, has been reduced drastically, and that a bulk of the 76 trillion dinar is actually sitting in banks or exchanges or in the hands of big time private investors. Anyways, just leave a comment and let me know what you think. I showed you, what I read was being rumored, and then was able to go out and improve it a little bit. I'm sure there's some of you that won't agree with what you saw. That's fine too. Feel free to leave a thumbs down then. So please like and subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Sorry, just rambling on there because I'm kind of doing this without a script like I usually have. But again, so 76 trillion dinar is a lot of money. That is a lot. And there would be no way for them to do an effective rate change. There's just not enough money for that to happen unless the amount that's in the hands of the public is a lot lower than people anticipate. If that's the case, well, then of course Iraq could do an effective rate change of around $1.20, because the amount that's in the hands of the public is different than what's sitting in the banks. And the banks, for one reason or another, will hold on to it, banking on the fact that Iraq has a lot of oil and reconstruction is coming, so they're not worried about how and when they're getting paid back. All right. Let me know what you think.